So lovely to see all of you today. And yes, Kathy, okay after the hurricane. Went to Florida for a week of hopefully beach time and got a week of rain and hurricane. And so it's a wonderful examination of attachment and our ability to look at how we truly do adapt at the constancy of change, how malleable we are, how flexible we are to observe all of the mood, all of the thought, all of the disappointment, the full range of the human experience, and to find a way in which we don't make any of it wrong. And to see that there is richness and benefit in all of that. And so here we are. Oh, Kevin, hi. Hi. Thank you, Debbie. Hi, Mark. Hi, Heidi. Okay. All right. So you you may have heard me tell a few stories about India and going to India, and I want to plant a little seed in your mind about a particular location on our planet. In olden times, this city was called Banaras. In fact, in Hindu culture and in many other faith traditions, it is considered one of the most ancient cities in existence. Today, it's called Varanasi, and it is the place where many Hindus feel that the veil between heaven and earth is the thinnest. It is the place where many Hindus strive to go to uh, to pass away, to transition. And so, on the banks of the Ganga, the some of us call it the Ganges, but it's pronounced Ganga. On the banks of the Ganga, there is a tradition in Benares or Varanasi, as it is known today, of burning the. It's an outdoor funeral pyre. It is a crematorium, and so it is probably the most chaotic place I have ever gone to. But if you understand paradox and what the word paradox is trying to get us to understand and define, it's that what appears to be one thing is really something else. And that whole location is a paradox because through a particular perception or a particular lens, Varanasi would look like some place that you would just want to leave immediately. It would be as if you were in one constant hurricane of activity, of a tornado of cataclysmic sound and smell and overwhelm. But the paradox of that particular location, the thin veil between that heaven and earth, is also something of such profound, deep rooted tradition, energy, um, just formidable connection to the mysteries of life. And if you pause long enough in the midst of the tornado, the hurricane, the storm of people and noise and smells, you can feel as if the ancient prayers, um, the connection to God is pulsating through your veins. And so in this place, again along the banks of the Ganga, every day they are burning bodies. And if you are the person who is in charge of this, usually in the caste system, it is those who are called the untouchables who are put in charge of burning the bodies. And so they take these bodies and they create these fires and they make sure that every part of the remnant of the human form is burnt. And so they have these big sticks that they are moving all of the ash and all of the remnants. I know it sounds morbid, but just go with it. Go with the tradition of the crematorium. And so they are moving and constantly altering, just like you would perhaps a fire in your fireplace. But they have these long sticks, and when they see when the person who is in charge of this sees that everything has been consumed, that the physical portal has been burnt, then what they do is they take the stick and then they put the stick onto the fire as well. And so then the stick then becomes consumed by the flame. When you think about the metaphor of the stick then is the method of the burning, the method of the tradition. It is the tool that the person uses in order to be in harmony with and in alignment with the way things are supposed to be done. And I want to talk to you this morning about the method. Perhaps you are unaware, but we all live our lives according to traditional methods. Our religions are methods. And when I say religions, I'm also talking about philosophies. I'm also talking about sacred text. I'm also talking about all of the things that we hold near and dear in our belief systems. They are methods. And so, what is a method? A method is something that assists us on the path. A method is a tool. There is a method by which you and I learned how to ride a bike. Remember training wheels. But then that method of getting us upright and assisting us in our balance, then that method alters, and soon we are riding without the training wheels. And then there are other things in life just like that as methods by the way in which we integrate into society, methods by the way in which we integrate with our family. But methods are not meant to be carved in stone. And so just like the the person on the crematorium in Varanasi takes the stick, the last thing, and he throws it on the fire so that the stick can become consumed. You and I are also asked over and over again to put the methods of our thinking onto this fire so that they can continue to be purified. Because without realizing it, these methods then are keeping us locked in. And these methods are, are creating finite perceptions and understandings of the world, our connections to God, the way in which manifestation works. Um, Methods become linked to our attachments. And before long, we are one of these people that are walking around going, well, it's not like it was in the old days, and this is not the true way in which this teaching should be taught. And all of a sudden, we are becoming this mouthpiece for the method, when the method is just something that has handheld us along our path of evolution. And evolution is not bound by any method. How willing are you to examine the methods by which you operate in life? And how willing are you and myself to be able to lay these sticks into that fire so that they can be consumed, so that the next hand can appear to pull us to the next level, so that the next method, if you will, can come through the hidden mist in order to take us to the next evolution. And so you see, even a teacher, even a sacred text, even a religion, even a set of rules or dogma can become methods, and methods can become traps. And when we get caught up in the method as the finality of why and what and how and when and where, then we lose the malleability of being teachable. And so being in Florida and going and anticipating what this particular week on the beach would look like, I had been waiting all year to get to the beach, and got to the beach, and I mean, it rained, and the wind, the velocity of the wind, and it was just extraordinary. And I was with my beloved, and we would sit there, and each moment was a moment of letting go of the method of how we were going to do vacation. Each moment was a surrender in the expectation and the attachment of what that week was supposed to look like. And so it was a beautiful thing to be able to see how willing we were to to not take the disappointment and just cast it aside, but to sit with the disappointment and to allow that disappointment to be almost purified, if you will. Because without the willingness to be in that pure state of letting the attachment be peeled away, to see what was beyond that, then we would be stuck with the methodology or the system of thinking that said it had to look this way. And so there were beautiful moments. There were realizations of just how physically tired we both were. There were awarenesses of how the cycle of work. There was the awareness, and I know you can identify this, of it almost takes a few days in order for the body to actually relax and to settle beyond the routine of whatever our normal lives are, in order to be fully attuned to the rest that's saying, hey, you know, let your methodology, let your plans, let all of the things be burned, let them be the stick, and you just put them on that so that they can be purified, because what really wants to be presented to you can. And so there was beautiful awareness in watching the storm. There were moments of venturing out in some of the aftermath, or when the pocket of stillness would happen before it would erupt again. And you could go and I could witness and be in awe of the way in which nature itself was a great purifier. Nature is not held by method. Have you noticed that? Nature cannot be calendared. Nature is not same, same. Nature is fluid. Nature is mighty and powerful. And in that fluidity, it makes us adhere to its spontaneity. So it is not bound by what society or by human will determines that it should be. Nature is its own purifying force. And so it lets go of all method. And so I was sitting on a little balcony, and I was looking over into the ocean, and I was watching the blackness and the wind and the palm trees bending all the way to the ground. And for some reason, I was thinking about my sister, Becky. My sister Becky was the next to the oldest. And when Becky was in her early 20s, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And this was many, many, many decades ago, long before even some of the treatments that they have today. Um, those did not exist for my sister. And so there was a series of time where the balance was lost, and then the ability to walk, and to the point where she was bedridden. And we were a part of a fundamentalist Christian background. And what you did, the method of that form of Christianity was to pray to God for healing. Pray to God, pray to an external deity, that external deity would somehow favor my sister Becky and restore her to health. We didn't sit around the kitchen table and put it in those exact words, but that was the feeling, that was the desire, was that somehow if we prayed hard enough, if we found the right preacher, if we found the right faith healer, meaning that there were times when my mom um, would read about, the traveling healers and what it would take to get Becky in a car and a wheelchair and get her to one of those revivals and get in line so that she could be touched by this particular person and perhaps be healed. So all of those things were a part of the cycle of belief, or the method by which that practice of Christianity was exercised in my family. And so um, around the time that I was 13, yeah, 13, because uh, up until that point, my mom had been a widow. My father had passed away when I was 7. So when I was about 12, between 12 and 13, my mother remarried. And I remember thinking about the method. I remember thinking about this fervent desire for all of us to have Becky healed. And to be quite honest, I think part of the desire to have her healed was just because of how taxing it was to take care of her. My sister Becky had gotten married right after the diagnosis, and she had married a really nice guy. He was a simpleton, not much ambition. To make a living, he changed mufflers on cars, but that was never good enough for my mother. And as her illness progressed, she began to resent my sister Becky's husband. And she would often voice her displeasure about how he couldn't do this and he didn't do this right and he didn't do that right. And then there was all this back and forth bickering between family members. And I remember sitting going, something's wrong with this method. If the aim is for my sister to be healed, and if the way that we experience healing is through a pure heart, then my sister Becky's not going to be healed because no one in this family has a pure heart. That was my 13-year-old mind thinking. And I called a family meeting. Kind of have to understand my family. Nothing like that ever existed. We didn't communicate from a heart space. Everything was sort of built on survival, and I've often spoken about my mother's raging and the poverty that was involved in all of that. And so to have the chutzpah as a 13-year-old, the hubris to call a family meeting was really weird. And I think the majority of my family, all of my family except one, came to this family meeting. And the family meeting was around my sister Becky's bed. And you can imagine it was sort of like the crematorium. Here we are around the burning of my sister's life force. With each passing year, it was decaying more and more and more. And as we gathered around her bed, it was as if I was extending an invitation for them to throw the method of their resentments or the method of their survival or the method of their attachment onto the fire. And so in my 13-year-old vocabulary, I said something like this: I may not know much about what it takes for healing to happen, but I don't think Becky's going to be healed. I don't think she's going to be healed. And the reason why I don't think she's going to be healed is because all of us are talking about each other behind each other's back. There isn't really any true love here. There isn't really abiding in the grace and in the forgiveness and in the way in which I believe that we are supposed to be and act like Jesus acted. And until that happens, until we can see one another and until we can love one another and champion one another through this experience, which is a collective experience, then Becky will never get better. So why are we trying to go to these great lengths to find someone who's going to heal her when really what's going to make healing happen is right here around this bed? It got very quiet. There were some mumbles, I think, towards each other. There were some very sort of stiff hugs and that kind of pat on the back kind of stuff. And I'd like to tell you that we all walked away changed. Um, I can't. They walked away. They heard me. My stepfather, he was brand new. I'd had him for a year. My stepfather pulled me aside and he looked at me into my eyes and he said, um, he said, in my eyes today, you became a man. And I never forgot that. But the point is that um, all of us are trying to do things in life. All of us are trying to find these healings, like my mom was trying to find a healing for my sister. We're trying to change things. We're trying to make hurricanes go away. Um, we're trying to pray for stuff. We're trying to acquire things. But the method is not pure. And so the real method is the method of the heart. And the method, you can consider everything that we've done up until this time. The method, if you will, is a doorway. And you and I are not meant to stand in the doorway. You and I are meant to go beyond the method. Now, to go beyond the method doesn't mean that you throw all of that away, but that you allow yourself to continue to be teachable. You allow the method continue to be heart-centered so that you can continue to hear what it is that is yours to do, what is mine to do. Do you follow? And so, what is it? What is it that perhaps you need to throw on the fire? What is the method? What is the belief? What is the story? What is the attachment? What is the anger? What is the resentment? And this isn't just what is neat and packaged and in a particular construct. This is full spectrum. When we start to look at our world, when the despair and the hopelessness begins to burn at a fever pitch, what is being asked of us, the opportunity of the global reset, the opportunity of the hurricanes of life, the opportunity of all this disruption is asking us to throw our methods on the fire. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to be of such pure intent that our prayer, our collective prayer becomes, use me, use me. I am available. I allow myself to place my story. I allow myself to place my grievances. I allow myself to put anything on the fire that prohibits me from the continuance of the path so that I can be available for what is the solution, for what is mine to do. I invite you to explore that this week. I know I'm doing the same. Thank you again for joining me on this Sunday. In the description box of this video, there is an invitation for you to explore studying with me in what I call Wisdom School. Session number 1 will be next Saturday. And if you click on the link, which goes to my website, you can read all about it. And if that calls to you, then by all means, I would love to have you with me. I have looked and redesigned it in a way to make it as accessible and as affordable and as easy as possible. And so sit with that, and perhaps we can all dive deeper together. And again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. And know that you are in my heart and my prayers. I love you dearly. God bless.